I want to get to this question that I was going to start at the beginning because I think it goes right hand in hand with what we're talking about. I'm going to summarize, though. This parent wrote in and said that they have a daughter who was diagnosed at 2.5, and now it's a year later. She is verbal and can communicate with a stranger with 90% understanding on each side. She's never attended school because she's too young at this point. And now we're getting ready to start ABA. They were assessed, and their ABA provider approved them for 20 hours a week. I want to start there. Because that makes the top of my head fly off, and I want to make sure that parents are hearing this, because for me, right there, fair or unfair, as a parent looking at research, if you have a 2.5-year-old, it's like if they say they're starting at 20 because they want to ramp her up to 40, I will accept that as good ABA. But if they're saying that a 2.5-year-old only needs 20 hours of ABA, I got questions already about the quality of ABA they're providing. Can they read? Do they understand research? Because the research says across the board, 25 to 40 hours is the window for the maximum amount of progress for this age range. Am I telling anything that's untrue, Evelyn?
Nope. That's
okay.
I mean, you want to take advantage, and maybe you have naps or whatever. You just work up to it because those naps will go away. You know.
Yeah. But all of us as parents and caregivers should be arguing with, I don't care who the provider is, argue with them on this. We want to be in that window of 25 to 40, and you want to get as close to 40 as you can get. And not only that, you want to learn what they're doing so that every hour that I love Dr. Grant Pichet says every waking hour. Yeah. So maybe your ABA provider is going to do 40, but the family is going to continue to keep those things going in the hours after therapy. So already I have like issues with why they would say 20 hours. But then they started ABA and they were just hitting COVID when that happened. And so basically what this ABA provider did, and they said who the ABA provider was, but I'm not going to say who it is, but I will give you a hint that part of their name has a holiday in it, right? In the spring, a holiday in the spring. Okay, but this to me is really upsetting because they gave her great parent training. And I love that. I want to encourage everybody. At CARD, they call it caregiver collaboration. Everybody wants that because you want to do the ABA in the hours that they're not doing it. But that's all they gave her. Because of COVID, they said that's all we can do is caregiver collaboration. And they taught her how to do ABC data collection. They taught her functions and consequences of behavior, antecedent strategies, blah, 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 blah. It was 1 to 2 hours a week. That was great. But now it's 2 months later, they are only having her run the sessions, and she gets to meet with her supervisor once a month, and that's all they want to do. They don't, no one is coming to work with their child. They have her run the sessions, and then they will go over the data that she took. And she says her insurance is paying for it. So I just want to say that's not typical. I don't pretend to know how everybody is dealing with COVID, but there are providers out there that are able to give you more than that. And I would be squawking big time at this ABA provider. This is not normal, is it, Evelyn?
No, and there's a lot of people, the world of COVID has really thrown a lot of people and agencies in learning how to figure it out. I mean, I have to say that first month when COVID hit and we had to figure out how to get all our kids therapy because we were working 80 hours a week, a whole set of us, because we were trying to figure out how can we have our kids not lose time. Because for every waking hour that a typical child is awake and learning constantly, ABA, the 40 hours is really to replicate that, is because your ASD child is not learning typically. So by having therapy and teaching parents, it's to replicate, it's to make the child every waking hour be learning. And that is what a typical child is doing. So that is what the replication is. But really, we sat down, the whole group of us that have been doing this, probably the average years of work was probably 20 to 25 years in the field, and putting together like how can we do this? You know, families that didn't want the social distancing, we had to close our centers. You know, some families that were okay with people coming in, we reduced the number of people going into homes. So, and you know, and with all our staff, we said, you know, we gave them all the protocols, and so they come in with, you know, PPE gear and everything, and then there's telehealth, and telehealth can be very effective, and then maybe the parent has to be there to kind of do the compliance to stay focused, but the therapy was coming through the screen. They were the ones planning, doing the trials, teaching them how to play. And yes, there was times when the therapist had to prompt the parent to like go get the items that were needed, you know, for whatever they were doing, or to place things. But the parent wasn't doing the therapy. It was coming through telehealth. And the parent had to follow instructions of what to, you know, when there's items that had to be put in place in front of the child that couldn't be done through the screen. But we have found that with all our telehealth therapy has been very effective for many, many of our kids. And then we have had people go into the home, and just reducing the number of people going home, and, you know, respecting the safety issues that do, you know, if there was somebody in the household that was, you know, that was in jeopardy of seeing somebody, we didn't do home-based. If the family wasn't comfortable, we didn't do it, you know, there's a lot of things that can be done, and therapy can be given during this time. And unfortunately, COVID is the normal, at least through next spring for sure, you know, in terms of safety. So
I want to chime in here though, and just say that it's so important that we learn these things as parents, and it's important that we be able to do everything with our child. But when insurance is paying for it, somebody else, because she's saying I get left alone during therapy. That's not when insurance is paying for it. That's just your life, and you will do that. And that's a good thing. And it's great that you're getting all that training. But when insurance is paying for it, someone else is there. They might be talking to your child, or they might be talking to you, or they might be talking to both of you. But if they're getting paid, they have to be there.
If they're getting paid for therapy, the code is implementation.
Yeah.
They're implementing. And then if they're a BCBA, they're supposed to be modifying your treatment plan. So if your insurance is paying for the different sources, if they're paying for that one-to-one therapy, you are not implementing the therapy. Somebody else's, you might be making sure this child stay focused, and you might be moving objects around, but you're not the one doing the therapy if your insurance is paying for the one-to-one.
Hey, thanks for watching Autism Live. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.